This is a tutorial in Photoshop, and what I'm going to show you today is how to combine two images. So as you can see, we have the image of our cat and we have the image of our woman's face. And what we're going to try to do is superimpose our woman onto our cat and actually start to fuse them together. So to do this, we're going to use a couple of different tools, and we're also going to be using layers. Now the first thing that I would obviously do is load my two pictures into Photoshop, and I would actually want to go to the image menu at the top and check that my sizes are the same. So the main one you've got to look for is the resolution. Now this is the dots per inch of your image. If the two images have different resolutions, they're going to be different sizes all the time. So you have to make sure that both of your documents have the same resolution. So mine is set to 150, and I know that my physical size is 20 by 15 centimetres. Now if I go over to my woman, and I go up to my image size again, I'm now on 150 in my resolution again, so my resolutions are exactly the same, and my document width is actually quite a bit smaller. So I'm going to need to make this a little bit bigger, because otherwise my documents won't paste in the same way. Now the first thing I'm going to need to do to my woman, so I can paste it over the top of my cat, is actually rotate it slightly. Because as you can see, my woman's eyes are on a slight angle and my cat's are dead level. So what I'm going to do is go up to the image menu and go to rotate canvas and then hit arbitrary. Now I can pick if I want to rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. And I want to rotate counterclockwise, so I'm going to pick that. And then I don't want to go too far, so I'm going to pick 5 to begin with. Now that's almost gone, but I'm going to need to go a little bit further. So I'm going to go back to my rotate canvas and back to arbitrary. And this time I'm going to go 3 and still going counterclockwise. And getting there, I might go 1 degree more. Let's have a look. Arbitrary again, and this time I'm going to go 1 degree. So I'm happy with that. So now I know that my woman's eyes are level and my cat's eyes are level. Now the next thing I've got to do is make sure that the eyes are going to fit over my cat's eyes. Whenever you are combining a human and an animal, the eyes are going to be the most important piece, and it's those that you want to try and fit together. Now, I've got my snap guides on, my intelligent guides, and you'll notice at the top I've got a little sliding scroll that is following my mouse pointer in my rulers. Now if you don't have these on, go to View, go to Show and say Smart Guides. You can see there's a tick against Smart Guides in mine. You will have to do this if they're not on for all of your windows. They won't come up in the separate windows. So what I need to do now is make sure that my distance between the eyes is the same. So looking at my smart guide, I am, from the centre of my eye, I'm about 1, 2, 3, about 3 centimetres between the centre of my woman's eyes. And on my cat, if I click into my cat picture, I'm actually 1, 2, 3, 4, so almost 5 centimetres across. So what I'm going to do is actually enlarge my woman's portrait with image size until it fits my cat. So I'm going to add about 4 centimetres on there, onto the width of my document. Oh, excuse me. I changed it to 4 there, I didn't add 4. So I will cancel that in a moment. If you do make a mistake like that and your history isn't showing, go to your window, go to history, and you can just step back to wherever you might want to be. So I've gone back to my rotate canvas there. I've deducted that image size. So I'll go back to image size again now. So I've got 9, 10, 11, 12, so what, 13, 14 centimetres? Right, hopefully this time. Just going to use, lovely, just using my sizing tool there to get my sizes roughly the same. So now, hopefully this one will be near the size that I want. So if I check with my guides again, so what am I? 1, 2, 3, no, we're still not the same, so we know we need to go up. So I'll go back to my image size, and I'll go 18 centimetres. Now, I'm just going to pick my pointer tool again to get my sizes correct. We have 1, 2, 3 and a bit. We could do going a bit larger. I'm going to check this one again. This is a bit that will take some time to get correct. Right, I'm going to go back to my image size. And I will put 26 in. Right, just move my history palette there for a moment. Make this a little smaller so I can see what's going on. So we are 2. Right, so we're getting near to the size that we need to be. So what I'm going to do now is do a select all on my woman. And then I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go copy. I'm going to click on my cat, and then I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to go paste. Now this should paste into another new layer. And you'll see on your layers panel on the side that I've got layer 1 and I've got background. So my cat is in my background and my layer 1 has got my woman into it. Now what I'm going to do is, to make it easier to actually put these two together, I'm going to click on my background and I'm going to say select all, and then I'm going to say cut. So I'm going to cut my cat out of the background, and then I'm going to say edit and paste. Now you'll notice this has been pasted into another new layer. In this way, it will actually be easier to work on both layers rather than having the cat in the background. Now I'm just going to minimise my woman there because I don't need her anymore. I'm going to make my cat picture a little bit more space around it, and you'll notice my woman is sitting in the middle there. And I'm moving my cat picture. Always remember to look at the layer you're actually moving. So I'm going to go back to layer 1, move my woman back in. So I'm moving her to roughly the centre of the screen. Now I'm going to take her opacity on this opacity slider on my layers menu down to about half, and then I'm going to click on my layer 2, which is my cat's layer, and I'm going to move that back in, and I'm going to try and line those eyes up as much as possible. Now I'm actually using the arrow buttons here on my keyboard so that I can nudge my cat and my woman back and forth. Right, I like that placement. So now I'm going to go back onto my layer 1, and I'm going to bring my opacity up just slightly so I can start to see my woman's features a little bit more than my cat. Right. Now you'll have to play around with your opacity to get it to where you want it. That's probably nicely for mine because I can actually see where my cat's eyes are going and the colouring of my cat and my cat's ears and my cat's nose and its mouth area, but I can also quite see my woman quite nicely as well. Now what we're going to do here is actually rub out some of my woman's features so that I can actually leave my cat features coming through more clearly. Now to do this, what I'm going to do is pick up my rubber from my tools palette, and I'm going to take the opacity slider on that tools palette down to about 30 or 40%. And then I'm going to pick a brush from our brush menu up here, which is a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, go for 100. And I want our hardness set to 0. So if you've picked a hard brush, just make sure you have set the hardness to 0 because that's going to feather the edges of your brush. What I'm going to do now is start to get rid of the pieces of my woman that I don't want to see anymore to bring my cat forward. I'm going to take my opacity down to 18% because what I want to do is just bring my cat cheeks in very slightly over here. A little bit in underneath the eye as well. And I'm working just very slowly to try and blend these two pictures together. And take a little bit out of the bridge of the nose here to try and darken that up a little bit. I'm going to leave my eyebrows in though, because my eyebrows are actually a key feature of our human. So while I'm tending to pick out my nose to bring it more cat-like, I'm actually going to keep my eyebrows into my human features. Carefully work around my eyes there. And start to pull out the edges of my woman's face a little bit as well. So I'm letting that cat fur underneath be seen. I'm just going to work that piece over quite a bit so I get rid of the edging there on my woman's face. Now, how much you bring forward and how much you keep is entirely up to you. But you can see I'm working very slowly just to bring those pieces forward. Now I'm going to come up over my ear here, and I'm just going to increase that opacity on my brush to make my ear really come forward. I want that ear to come through fully. And then I'm going to do the same over here with the top of my ear. But I'm going to keep that curl of hair in front. So when you are putting your animal pieces together, try and find pieces which will make them overlap nicely and actually sit together as a more cohesive image. So I'm going to leave that piece of hair falling in front, because obviously a human would have that hair coming in front of those ears. I'm going to turn my opacity back down again, down to 21, and I'm just going to follow in a little bit of my cat fur around here. down over the neck. Right. Make sure my nose has come through fully. Now what I'm going to do is just turn the opacity of my woman up very slightly, just to make that hair a little darker, and just check how my cat is working with my woman so far. So that's not looking too bad actually. I'm going to bring that back down a little bit to about 80. Now I'm going to click on my layer 2, my cat's layer. What I want to do now is actually remove any bits of my cat which are blurring my woman's features. Now I'm actually going to keep my woman's eyes working with my cat rather than picking out my cat's eyes. You could try and keep the cat's pupils, but obviously my eyes possibly aren't lined up as perfectly as they could be. So I'm going to keep to my woman's features. So in this one, I'm now going to be working again with my eraser, and again my opacity is turned down, but I'm working underneath my woman's eyes to actually make them that little bit clearer and actually bring those eyes forward just a little bit. You don't need to do too much, otherwise you will actually start to get rid of them and it will start to look a little bit grey. Now I'm going to just bring her lips up a little bit as well, and then also take some of this area in front of her hair away. Right. Now I'm going to go back to my layer 1 and I'm just going to work a little bit further to get rid of that jawline. Now you can see you're going to have to work back and forth with your tools to make sure your two pieces come together. Right, now I'm going to here check my cat by taking my opacity of my woman down and then actually slowly bringing it back up. Yep. They're working very nicely. Take the woman down just a little bit more to about 92. About 90. And then I'm just going to work a little bit further again on that forehead area, just to make sure that cat's fur is brought up, and again under the eye. Across that lip area. And I'm going to make my brush smaller, maybe go to 35, and just go into this little under eye area and under here to bring in that cat fur. Right, I'm almost done. So I've now blended my woman and my cat reasonably successfully. I'm now going to crop off any of that I don't need. So I'm just going to crop it there. And I'm going to go selected that with my rectangular selection tool. And I'm going to go to image and I'm going to go to crop. Now what that will do is it will take away any of the unnecessary image around the edge. Now because I want to alter the colours of both my layers simultaneously, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say flatten image. And this is going to sandwich all my layers together and make them as one image. So what I'm going to do here is go to layer, and right down the bottom is flatten image. If I say flatten image, you'll see on the side I've just got my one background image of my woman and my cat all smushed together. Now in this way I can now, I'm just going to deselect my little selection there, work in some adjustment layers. So if I want to alter the brightness and the contrast, if I want to desaturate it, maybe make it black and white, you could do that. So you could now do a final few adjustments. I'm going to adjust my brightness and contrast here, make it a little bit brighter, and with a little bit more contrast, bring up those cat colours a little bit. Right, and I think I'm going to stop that there. That's about done for this one. So when you're putting two pieces together, whether it be an animal and a human, or a human and a human, or a piece of background, remember to use your different layers, and remember to use that eraser tool on those layers to blend them together by actually taking out different bits of each layer.